And the Oscar for Best Picture is presented to...
And the Oscar goes 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 to...
And the Oscar goes...
And the Oscar goes... And the Oscar goes to...
Welcome back to The Better Half. I'm Bradley J. Halverson, and here with me, she's my better half. It's Carly Corio. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Bradley. I am so excited to talk with you today.
Carly, it's March, or
I was
otherwise
gonna say.
your birth month.
Birth month. I was actually going to bring it up, so I'm glad you did. And you're the love of my life for just that reason. You care about everything I care about.
Yeah, I look forward to this month more than my own birth month. You know, it's like, it's March.
Aw. And you love sports, so March Madness and...
Oh, yeah. No, I think I remember saying this on an earlier pod episode, but I don't love when my birthday falls because I feel like it's always Mother's Day or somebody's graduating or whatever. Yeah. But you probably get it so nice here at the end of March to just, like, nothing ever conflicts with your birthday, I feel like.
I mean, Easter occasionally.
Oh, well, who cares?
As we're about to talk about a very religious movie. But yeah, I mean, Easter does sometimes fall around my birthday. No, I mean, I always grew up really frustrated that my birthday was at the end of the month. I was like, I have to wait the whole month of March to celebrate me. But that's okay. It's almost nice because then I just build my birthday into the whole month as we anticipate the actual day. So yeah, it's my month.
Growing up, were you ever a kid? Because I imagine you always during the school year, you would watch basically all of your friends have their birthdays throughout the year and you would always have to wait until and I definitely experienced this. It's always like basically in May, nobody cared about my birthday.
Yeah. And you know what else bugged me is very often my birthday would be over spring break. So I rarely would get to celebrate it at school, but occasionally I know I did a few times because we would bring in like yummy snacks and stuff. But yeah, that was always a thing that irked me growing up was when my birthday fell on the week we were all off school and I
felt like my birthday would be joined up with all the like the summer birthdays. They would try to do just like an end of the year or whatever. So if the kids weren't bullying me for bringing the Chicago soundtrack, you know, during recess.
It's established podcast lore that Brad was bullied in grade school bringing Chicago to school.
Carly, we have like a cute little movie to talk about today. I think like the word that was stuck in my mind after watching this movie was wholesome. Like it's a very wholesome film, I think, from maybe not exactly from the start because there's definitely some rude ass people in this movie, but I think certainly by the end it's akin to like a Hallmark Christmas movie. You know, they might as well have all just made out outside in the falling snow.
Yeah. I think that I would say the word that I ended the movie with was cute.
Cute, not hot.
Cute, not hot. 100%. Yeah, that is a good way to put it, which also is how I end most Hallmark movies. Cute,
Cute, not hot.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about Going My Way, directed by Leo McCarey, released in 1944. It won Best Motion Picture at the 17th Academy Awards, which took place on March 15th, 1945. And what's interesting, listeners, you know, from the time you're hearing this episode, the 98th Academy Awards will take place on March 15th, 2026. So exactly 81 years later.
And mark your calendars, because that's coming up.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. The next episode you hear will be the day after the 2026 Oscars. So this is our final chance to plug this year's Oscars. Check it out. March 15th, ABC and Hulu, I believe. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see which movie joins the pantheon of Best Picture winners. Like it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this one. And Carly, do you have a synopsis for us for Going My Way?
Yes, I do. So Going My Way is a 1944 American musical comedy drama. When I first read that, I was like, musical comedy drama, which I guess it did have all of that. A musical comedy drama about a new young priest taking over a parish from an established old veteran.
Love. Yeah, this movie claims to be a musical, a comedy, and a drama all in one. And so I will be interested, Carly, to talk at some point about how effective it was at being all three of those things. But I think it's a pretty high bar to set.
No, I agree totally. And when I ended the movie, I said that was a musical.
And when the movie ended, I said, that's a drama?
Yeah. Halfway through the movie, I was like, this is a comedy?
Yeah, I would say almost maybe 1/3 of the way through, I was like, I haven't laughed once at this movie. And then, something occurs. And then it happened. I can't wait to get into it. So, but yeah, so let's get into the recap here. As Carly's synopsis references. We're going to be following two priests here. Our main guy, Charles Chuck O'Malley, he's being played by Bing Crosby, which you may know from Christmas music.
Yeah, of course, that's... And he sings it in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. But I mean, the whole time I'm just like, all I could, and we are recording this just after the holiday season, where his version of Silent Night, or is that it?
They do sing Silent Night at some point.
His version of Silent Night comes up on any Christmas playlist you would ever listen to. So
I know, I can't believe, like, because this movie will also end on Christmas Eve. And I was like, this could have been our Christmas episode. And I literally I asked Google, I was like, which Best Picture winners feature Christmas or reference Christmas so that we could. And now, the French Connection had a guy in a Santa suit. And this movie is like so Christmas coded. I'm like so pissed that we couldn't have known to pick those for our holiday episode, but whatever. So we got two priests here. And so we're going to meet not Chuck O'Malley here first. We're going to meet Father Fitzgibbon. And he is played by Barry Fitzgerald. So, and this is our like older established priest. He works at St. Dominic's Catholic Church in New York City, and he has been there for, I believe, like 45 years. So he is your classic sort of old curmudgeon-y kind of guy. So somebody who's very set in his ways. And he's having this meeting with a couple of these banker guys. And it's another father-son duo, very similar to You Can't Take It With You, where we have Ted Sr. and we have Ted Jr. And Father Fitzgibbon is meeting with Ted Sr. To get a loan to get a new furnace for the church. And Ted Sr., being kind of a dick, is like, well, I have the mortgage to your church and you are behind on your payments. And if you don't make 5 payments on your mortgage, we're going to foreclose. And I think straight up says, like, we made a bad loan. And you owe us money. And Ted Jr. is over in the corner, like, not super interested and kind of being like, Dad, who cares? Like, whatever. Give him the furnace. But ultimately, like, caves to whatever his father wants. And when father and son walk out the door, Ted Jr. is like, Dad, you're not really going to foreclose on a Catholic church. Like, think of the optics.
Right.
And Ted Sr., he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. He was very curmudgeon-y. And I wrote, Father Fitzgerald is flat broke. Like, it kind of sets up just the church is not in a good spot. And this father-son duo, you're like, oh, are they like the antagonists in this movie?
Right.
Are they the meanies? And I think they kind of are.
Yeah, I guess this is
the
most drama we get in this drama of, oh no, financial woes. Oh, a mortgage payment.
What, you have to pay $300 a month? Like, you're in the 1940s. Get it together.
There are bigger problems happening in the world right now. Goddamn. So we're going to cut away from them to meet our leading priest guy here, Father O'Malley. He is just out on the street and just happens to stop to talk to the single most rudest woman, who I kind of stand, by the way.
What was her name? Mrs. Quimby?
No, Quimp.
Miss Quimp. Yeah.
Hattie Quimp. She is like cleaning the outside of her window. And so Father O'Malley here, Bing Crosby, he stops and he's like, hey, like, I'm looking for the church. Like, I was recently transferred here is what we're going to come to learn. And this rude ass woman, Quimp, is like, what? You don't know where that church is? Where you're not doing a good job being the new assistant. You don't even know where the church is. And he's like, what's your name? And there's like 3 other women hanging outside their windows. And they're like, oh, that's Quimp. And they're like, oh, forget her. They're like, the church is this way. So he's like, thank you. And proceeds down the street where a bunch of boys, New York City's ran by an army of boys, we're going to learn. They're like playing baseball or whatever. And they're like, hey, Father, catch. And they like throw the baseball and it goes clean through this guy's window. Okay. The owner of the house, I'm assuming, comes out and he's super pissed. And he's pissed at Father O'Malley, who literally just failed to catch a ball, relatable.
Because all the boys run away. They all
that's
run.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, little asshole boys. Now he goes from Quimp to this guy who we don't even know. He's not super important, but he's going to give Father O'Malley like all of this grief about the ball through his window or whatever. And I think this scene is in here to establish the personality of Chuck here, of our Bing Crosby character, because he actually does kind of take ownership of the broken window and says multiple times, like, I will pay to get it fixed. I will pay to get it fixed. And he's in full sort of priest garb. And I don't know if people are treating him coldly because there's just a lot of like anti-religious sentiment going on here. I don't know, but I think what we're learning about Father O'Malley here is that he is very charitable, gracious, and like patient. So he's not matching anybody's freak in terms of the rudeness he's receiving. He's not giving it right back. Instead, he's like meeting everybody with kindness. So this rude guy takes the baseball and he's like, here, catch, and he throws it. And Father O'Malley does have this line, is like, you throw like an atheist.
Oh, yeah. I was like, is this going to be a film about like religious differences? And it really wasn't.
No. So Father O'Malley goes to pick up this ball, and at the same time, this like huge truck, they like hit a puddle. And so Father O'Malley gets drenched in water. Because of this, by the time he actually gets to the church and he meets Father Fitzgibbon for the first time, he has to change out of his entire priest outfit because it's been drenched in water. And so when this meeting occurs, Chuck O'Malley, he shows up in like full sweatsuit.
And did you see what it said on the sweatshirt?
Is it St. Louis?
St. Louis Browns.
Oh.
St. Louis Browns. And so I was like, wait.
Wait.
Yeah. Because if you know anything about sports, which Brad does, the Cleveland Browns, I'm very passionate about the Cleveland NFL football team. And I was like, Browns, that's interesting. And so I looked it up, and the St. Louis Browns are a baseball team. And I think he quickly references baseball in this. So just let me pause because I want to give some history here. So the St. Louis Browns, I was like, that's not a current baseball team anymore. And I was like, what happened to them? So I look it up, and there used to be two St. Louis baseball teams. There were the St. Louis Browns and the St. Louis Cardinals, which we are familiar with.
Yes.
And it's not unheard of for one city to have multiple baseball teams still. But I was like, what happened to the St. Louis Browns? Well, they moved to Baltimore.
The Baltimore Browns.
The Baltimore Browns, but they renamed themselves as the Baltimore
Ravens.
Orioles. Okay. We'll get to the Ravens.
And it was a bird.
So they moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Ravens eventually. So that is where the Baltimore Ravens originated, was from St. Louis. Interesting. And I have a point to this. So then I was like, that's very interesting. And I kind of looked up, like, was there any, because I knew the Browns, the football team, was named after their original owner, Paul Brown. So I was like, I know that there's not really a connection with their names, but I looked up if there was any connection. And of course, after reading the history of the St. Louis Browns, and Brad, you better not cut this out because I think this will be really important to people that do care about sports. So I know you're probably going to go through and be like, we'll cut out all that. But
cut this out.
No, it's very interesting because
it is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because the St. Louis Browns, the baseball team, moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Orioles. Very famously, in 1996, overnight, the Cleveland Browns football team was sold. Or not sold. They moved. Literally, the owner of the Browns moved them to Baltimore overnight. All of Cleveland in 1996 woke up and just didn't have a football team anymore. And I don't know if you... In 1996, yes, we were alive. Wow. So, you can look up so many things about this. Like, the city of Cleveland was devastated. And we didn't have a football team for 3 years until 1999. A new football team was founded in Cleveland, and the NFL allowed the new football team, the new Cleveland Browns, to maintain, basically just to restart. We maintained the same record, all the old stuff. So the team itself is still that old. But anyway, so the Cleveland Browns went to Baltimore also and became the Baltimore Ravens. So that's two teams named Browns that came to Baltimore and changed and are now the existing Baltimore professional teams. Is that not wild?
It's cute, not hot.
It's cute, not hot. So yeah, I looked this up. I know that my cousin Brandon listens. He's going to be interested. He probably knew all this. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. And once I saw St. Louis Browns, I was like, whoa. And they mentioned the St. Louis Browns a few times throughout the movie. So yeah, I just wanted to take a second and head to a little sports tidbit.
No, thank you for that. Because yeah, I simply just saw St. Louis and I thought he just was like from a borough of New York City called St. Louis. I didn't even think any further.
No. No, he moved there from St. Louis.
Okay.
So he moved to New York City from St. Louis in the movie, and he references that, and he's like, oh, I know, like, I have tickets to the St. Louis Browns games, and I can take you. So that's kind of where all that came in. But interesting enough, in 1944, the St. Louis Browns, their last year of existence before they moved, they went to the World Series. And this is the same year that this movie came out, so it's a big thing. And who did they lose to? The St. Louis Cardinals. So
wow.
just a whole deep dive I went into. And after that, I just stopped watching the movie.
This movie really should have claimed to be a musical comedy drama sports film.
Yeah, exactly. No, and feel free to edit some of that out, but I just thought it was very interesting.
No, I appreciate, because I know sports, and certainly Cleveland sports is a huge, it's a pillar of your personality and your identity, and so I think it's very cool that like you and I both watch that scene separately. We watched this movie separately, but you know, and my experience was just like, oh, okay, yeah, he's in a sweatsuit. I can't see any bulge. And then you were like, I'm going to do a deep dive.
You looked straight down. I looked straight up to see Browns. And I was like, oh my God. And we both did different deep dives in our head.
Yeah, I was like, I need to know Bing Crosby's girth length.
You searched Bing Crosby bulge, and I searched St. Louis Browns. And yeah, we both went on different deep dives. So
yeah, the men in this movie are cute, not hot. So
yeah. I was wondering if you thought Bing Crosby was cute.
If anything, I was more into Father Fitzgibbon.
Shut the heck up. No, you were into Ted Haynes.
Oh, Ted Jr.
Ted
Yeah,
Jr.
He's probably your classically hot guy.
He's hot, not cute.
Sometimes I skew a little older, so I was like, I probably could turn Fitzgibbon's frown upside down, was what I was thinking.
No, I would rather do Bing Crosby.
Yeah, that makes sense for you.
That makes sense for us. Okay, let's get back to the movie. So O'Malley walks in with a sweatshirt.
With some obscure football reference sweatsuit. And Fitzgibbon is thoroughly unimpressed. We don't really know the setup too much as to like what happened prior to this movie, like what happened to Fitzgibbon's like prior assistant or whatever, or like how he feels ultimately. Like he clearly doesn't seem to be happy to be receiving a new assistant and seems to be seeking any sort of confirmation bias to like hate O'Malley on sight. And of course, he's showing up in a sweatsuit and not by his own making, you know, just by circumstance. But it's incredible. This guy's been here like one day and literally like every single person he's interacted with hates his effing guts.
Yeah.
And that continues through here where he's trying to talk to Fitzgibbon for the first time, Father Fitzgibbon gets a phone call and it's Quimp. It is that woman from the building.
Yeah.
Like, just being like, get a load of this guy. Get a load of your new assistant. Just there to talk shit about him. And Father Fitzgibbon is like, oh, I know what you're talking about, Quimp.
Meanwhile, looking O'Malley up and down the whole phone call,
yeah.
Like, oh, yep,
And soon after this, another phone call happens where it's a minor character being introduced here, but it is another priest, Father Timmy O'Dowd, and he is BFFs apparently with Bing Crosby, with Chuck here. So he has to speak to him or whatever. It was interesting because he's like, hey, are you free to talk right now? And Father O'Malley's like, kind of not really, kind of hinting that Fitzgibbon's there. And he's like, all right, I hear you loud and clear. So what do you think about Fitzgibbon, really? Father O'Malley's like, I really can't say right now. So, yeah. So we get this whole sort of these character dynamics established fairly quickly. So again, we believe that Father O'Malley is here to be the assistant to Father Fitzgibbon. And again, Father Fitzgibbon is somebody very set in his ways, doesn't want an assistant, and just isn't thinking very highly of Chuck here at all. And so this seems to be a lot of tension in the room right now. At this church, there's also like a random helper lady, Mrs. like Carmody, I think her name is. But basically the next morning, like Father O'Malley is already like gone running errands, and Fitzgibbon is wandering around being like, oh, where is that upstart O'Malley? And Mrs. Carmody's like, I got all of his shit. She's literally carrying like all of his possessions, and he's got some golf clubs, a fishing pole, and all these things that, you know, all evidence that Fitzgibbons looks at and is just like with disdain. He's like, you kidding me? Golfing? That's the biggest sin of them all.
I said Fitzgibbon absolutely appalled by golf, like thinks it's the devil's work.
And Father O'Malley shows up during this scene and with like a big wicker basket. He's like, hey, I've been talking with the parishioners already. I've been running around doing errands, helping people out. And here's this gift to the church. And he opens it and it's a basket of puppies, which is not a gift. That is a nightmare.
They're really cute.
Yeah, they were cute. Mrs. Carmody kind of takes them away or whatever off screen.
Yeah, we never really see those puppies ever again.
They were made into fur coats by Quimp, probably. And so our other priest friend here, Timmy O'Dowd, he shows up too. And so Timmy and Chuck, they're going to go golfing. And this is where Father Fitzgibbon, again, is like, golf. He's like, that's just the pool room outside. And like, it's like golf is about a bunch of boring white people hitting balls with sticks. What are you talking about? He's like acting like it's like some locker room.
Right.
Outdoor locker room. I don't know. Again, Fitzgibbon, I think, is very disconnected. And this is the part too where he steps away. And then it's just Timmy and Chuck out there chatting. And we finally get some like tidbit of information here, a bit of intrigue in the story where O'Malley basically admits to Timmy that he is there not to be Fitzgibbon's assistant, but he's there to take over the entire parish. But the bishop still wants Fitzgibbon apparently to stay on as a pastor. I don't really understand the hierarchy or the structure or what that means, but it's clear to us though that like O'Malley is meant to take over, but he's pretending to be the assistant and has yet to reveal that information to Fitzgibbon. He hasn't told the truth about that yet. So for a priest, he's kind of lying by omission.
Lying, right.
And then Timmy has this line. He's like, oh, so you're putting Fitzgibbon out to pasture. And this is where...
And then, what's his name?
Fitzgibbon.
Fitzgibbon comes back and he hears like the end of this conversation. He's like, pasture?
Pasture.
And then like Timmy and Chuck are both like, and Timmy's like, yeah, I just said next time I go past your church, I would stop in. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh.
It was the first comedy thing that you're like, oh, there's the comedy.
It's also during this conversation that O'Malley hears that a certain rude-ass woman is getting evicted. So he's going to head off to who we're going to learn is Quimp. And on his way out the door of the church, he runs into Ted Sr., Chuck does. And Ted Sr. is quick to be like, just so you know, I hold a mortgage to this place. And And O'Malley is like, the church is in a bit of a trouble. That's why I'm here. We're going to definitely need money. Thanks. And Ted Sr. is like, stunned, silent. So he goes from Ted Sr. to Ted Jr. here because by the time he gets to Quimp's residence, we find out that Quimp is the one about to be evicted and Ted Jr. is the one that's there. And apparently like Ted Jr. and Ted Sr. just have the mortgages to like, they're just the landlords of this.
Yeah, exactly.
The entire New York City. Damn.
I was like, they own this whole block and control all the monies, ins and outs of this block, and that's it.
So Quimp is like all upset, of course. And then, so O'Malley comes and I don't even know how he smooths this over, but he kind of just talks to Ted Jr. And Ted Jr. kind of clues him in a little bit of like, hey, just so you know, like the church is at risk of foreclosure. I guess this is where he kind of learns because he has this line of like, my dad wants to turn the church into a parking lot.
Yeah. And
the whole Quimp being evicted, like doesn't go anywhere. She just kind of runs back inside. Again, I think O'Malley's there to kind of smooth things over and he has a bunch of charisma. People seem to like him now. And even though Quimp is like rude as fuck, like O'Malley still is there showing up for her, like fighting for her, advocating for her, all these things. As he's heading back to the church though, he catches some hooligans, some boys, a boy gang stealing some turkeys.
Stealing turkeys.
Not just like dead turkeys, from a turkey truck. It's like live turkeys.
Right.
I did not initially pay attention to this plot line because I didn't think it was important, but these two boys in particular do kind of pop up and there is a bit of a story arc for them. And so O'Malley does catch them stealing these turkeys and then the camera's going to follow the two boys. They're like, let's cut through the church, garden, the church courtyard or whatever, still holding this like turkey by the neck. And these two boys, one of them is like Tony Soprano. Is that his name? No, Scapone.
Tony Scapone and the other
Tony
one.
Scapone
and Herman Langerhank.
Yeah, so they got to be like 15, 16, 17 years old, somewhere in there. Yeah. And so they're like cutting through or whatever, and they run into Fitzgibbon. And they're like, And Fitzgibbon's like, hey, like, what are you actually doing with that turkey?
With the turkey?
What's up with the turkey? So the boys are like, oh, well, it's obviously a present for you here. And so Fitzgibbon just gives it to the woman that works there.
Couldn't be more pleased, too. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, no suspicious anything. Yeah. He's just like, oh, this makes sense. And here's this turkey, ma'am. Obviously telling her to go make it.
Right. So, yeah, he is so grateful for this gift that is stolen. And so the boys kind of scurry off thinking they got away with it. And literally we cut to that night. And they're carving up a turkey. it's both the priests. They're at the dinner table eating this turkey, and O'Malley quickly realizes like where the turkey came from, because Fitzgibbon's like, oh, these two angelic little cherubs, these these godly boys, they gave me this turkey today.
Doesn't O'Malley say, like, actually, I saw them stealing turkeys today?
Yeah, Fitzgibbon's like willing to like turn the other cheek here, like, because like the boys go to church, right? So I think in Fitzgibbon's mind, and his like really like stuck in his ways, like if you go to church, therefore who you are as a person is like well defined. Like in Fitzgibbon's eyes, like as long as you go to church or your family goes to church, and then therefore you're not capable of acts like stealing a turkey and things like that. So Fitzgibbon is not quick to sort of think that what the boys did was anything wrong or illegal. And he also seems to have a problem with like the city's like cop, this guy named McCarthy or whatever, because McCarthy doesn't go to church. And so Fitzgibbon's like, oh, that McCarthy or whatever, like
hasn't been to church in 10 years.
Exactly, yeah. So, and this dinner gets interrupted by literally McCarthy bringing these two boys to the church, I guess, to fess up to stealing the turkey. And O'Malley has a quick moment with the boys, kind of shoos the cop away. And instead of, being angry with the boys, he says like, hey, like, do you two like baseball? And why don't you two come here on Saturday and we go to a baseball game? And the boys are like a little skeptical, a little suspicious, but they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Golly gee.
Oh, golly gee. I love baseball because I'm a teenage boy. And and so the boys are rewarded for being criminals. And that's where like O'Malley comes back into the room, and
oh yeah, this is it.
And O'Malley kind of comes in and says like, yeah, this turkey was like stolen. And the scene kind of ends there. Like Fitzgibbon kind of like put down his utensils.
Yeah.
And we fade to black. So keep the turkey and the turkey boys in mind, right? And then we're gonna pivot to another minor character. I think both of these serve a similar purpose, and I think it's to show us the differences in approaches that Fitzgibbon has versus O'Malley has. So, like I said, with the turkeys, with the boys, like O'Malley's gonna find a way to connect with the boys, right? And maybe reform them a little bit, where Fitzgibbon is like very quick to just have opinions of people based on whether or not they go to church or not. So in this next scene, the cop's gonna come back to the church, this time accompanied by a woman, and we're introduced to
Carol Jones.
Carol James, something like that. And Carol, she is an 18-year-old runaway, and Father O'Malley is there first. So he's the one that kind of greets him at the door. And so he has this conversation with Carol to kind of get to know her. And she's like, yeah, I ran away from home because my parents like had expectations of me and standards of me and were treating me like a child. So I ran away.
She gave a couple examples. She's like, they kept asking me to like clean up and like very like normal kid things. And we do learn she's 18, so I get that.
18.
But I think it was supposed to be a little bit funny. And you're right, it is Carol James. But I just think it was supposed to be like a little bit funny, the things that she was saying her parents were making her do.
Right. It's like very ordinary.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, this movie definitely makes it clear to us that she's 18 years old. They say it multiple times. Yeah. And O'Malley, again, in his approach, he's not like immediately like, you need to go home, you need to respect your parents or whatever. He is like getting to know her, and he finds out that she has aspirations, of course, to be a star. And Fanny Bridges from Cavalcade has a word to say about that. And there just happens, of course, to be a piano. And this is where finally we get our first musical number of this musical. Bing Crosby, Chuck sits down at the piano, starts playing a little tune, and she sings a song, and she has all these like hand gestures with it that he makes fun of.
I was like, why is she doing that? I was so glad it was part of the movie, because I was like, this is too weird. She was like, basically if you have like an inflated ball in your hand and you just keep moving it around, like that's exactly what her hands looked like the whole time she was singing. And I was like, she's gotta stop.
Yeah, immediately once the song is done, Chuck's like, you want to try that again with like a little bit more feeling? a little bit more
hand movements.
But this gets interrupted by Father Fitzgibbon showing up, being like, Great Caesar's ghost, a woman. So Father O'Malley explains who she is, why she's here. She ran away from home. And so, again, the differences in approaches here, where Fitzgibbon is immediately like, you need to go back home to your parents, and you need to take up housework, and you need to become someone's wife, young lady. You hear me?
Yeah.
Literally every wrong thing to say to a woman.
It was jaw-dropping the way he said it, too. I was like, damn. Yeah, this guy's gotta go. I agree with the bishop. He's gotta go.
But Carol, like, she's like smiling the whole way through. Like, she never is like overtly offended. She just is very clearly and firmly, she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, no. She's like, don't worry about me. I'm going to find my own way. Don't worry about it at all. And Father O'Malley has to like beg Fitzgibbon to give him just $10 to give to her.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, she is 18 years old and she's going to just go make it work in New York City. And so Father O'Malley's like, you know, we want to give you a little something. Again, the charitable nature and approach that Chuck has versus Fitzgibbon's, who wants to give her a 5 instead of a 10. And in my head, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
So Chuck promised to take the boys to baseball. And thankfully, we didn't have to go see that baseball game. We skipped right over it. Some time has passed. And this boy army has gathered together. Tony Scapone.
I wrote down the striped shirt boy army. Like, why did they all have striped shirts on?
Yeah, you're so right.
Right? It's like Sandlot. Like, it's very, they're dressed all very like that. Like, striped, like, little boy shirts, young boys. Like, what if you were to have, like, a neighborhood group of boys, it's like what they would stereotypically wear. I was like, why did the costume designer didn't think it'd look weird if they all had striped shirts on? Like, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It has to be a gang. Like, that must be their uniform. And it's being led by Tony Scapone here.
Yes.
And apparently, like, Chuck O'Malley has, like, requested this meeting. He wanted Tony to kind of gather up all the boys. There are no little girls in this movie. It's just a bunch of this army of boys. And the boys are really skeptical about this. They're like, oh, this priest, he's going to make us become altar boys. He's going to make us do this. He's going to preach to us, yada, yada, yada. And Tony Scapone is like, shut your traps. He's like, he wields an iron fist to the boys.
Yeah. Well, and Tony pulled Father O'Malley aside.
Yes.
Basically saying, hey, I vouched for you. Like, I'm telling all of them to listen and to listen up. And he says, basically saying, if you don't show up and make sure that you don't, like, backstab me, I will drop you like a hot potato. He says that to Father O'Malley. And it was so funny. Tony's, like, accent was cracking me up. He would be like, oh, hey, Fada. What's up, Fada?
Very New York. Yeah.
Yes. At one point, they were talking about the turkeys. He's like, this is the guy that was cool about the toikies.
Turkeys.
The toikies.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah, because Father O'Malley shows up, Tony pulls him aside, and is basically like, don't embarrass me in front of my boys, my army.
Yeah, exactly.
And Father O'Malley's not put off, he's not intimidated in the slightest by this gang.
And I mean, all these boys were probably between the ages of like 6 to 14.
There were some young.
Yeah, there were some young kids, and then they went all the way up. So, I mean, it's probably just like any neighborhood, and of course, in New York City, your neighborhoods have a lot more people. All the kids that live in the area, they all hang out, and apparently no girls were allowed.
Nope. And Father O'Malley finally, gets to talk to all of them and reveal what he would like, and he wants them to form a choir, which initially the boys are like, oh, we know it. And Tony Scapone's like, say one more goddamn word, and I'm gonna break all your fingers. But there's one boy who's not a part of the group, who's not excited, because the other boys are like scared into submission. They're like, okay, fine, we'll form this choir. And Tony's friend Herman, who was a part of the turkey, stealing, and he's off over to the side. And Father O'Malley's like, well, what about him? Who's clearly not interested. I'm chuckling because of what's about to come up. But Herman, he heads on outside, and Tony's like, give me a minute.
Oh, yeah, give me a minute. And because I think once he had kind of left, I think Father O'Malley's like, well, who's going to be my, like, bass singer? And he's like, oh, that's this guy. That's Hoyman. That's what he said, Herman. He's like, that's Hoyman. I'm going to go get him. Don't worry, I'll go get him. So then he walks off and meets Herman. And Brad's favorite part of any movie we've watched so far happens next.
I'm not even going to be able to do it justice. It's like Tony gets up close with Herman, and before Herman can say a single word, Tony just starts slapping the shit out of Herman. And he's not winding his hand back. These are not big slaps. This is very unusual. It's just from cheek to cheek.
Back forth.
And it goes on for so long. He's like, Herman, what are you doing? And he'll ask a question, and Herman's like, well, I don't really... Slap. As he's audibly talking, Tony just keeps slapping him and like kind of smiling while he does.
It was very slapstick comedy-esque. Like,
yes.
Like it's how Moe and Curly beat Larry in The Three Stooges. It was like, and it even had like the sound effects. It was like, yeah. Like it was so bizarrely placed in this movie. And I don't know. I guess they were like, the editors were like, we need more comedy. We need more comedy. What do we do? And they're like, let's have this boy hit this boy a bunch. It was so random, but it did bring some joy, especially to Brad.
Honestly, I thought this could have been unscripted. Like, it felt like initially, like, it felt like these two actors, like, liked each other in real life. Like, they were friends. And so they were just, like, having fun in the scene of, like, I'm just going to keep doing it. But yeah, this was so surprising to me that I immediately burst out laughing. Like, take my glasses off, tears in my eyes, and I am, like, silently laughing. You know, when you're laughing so hard you can't even make a noise. That is what overtook me in this moment. I had to rewind it. I had to watch it again. I texted Carly. I said, this just has to be the funniest thing we've seen in a Best Picture winner yet.
In any of them.
Do you want to stop down, Carly, and talk about other, you know, comedic moments we've seen and other Best Picture winners? Have you thought about it?
That. Yeah, so as Brad and I were talking about this, you know, Brad definitely was, what did you say? You said, this is the funniest moment, and then you said, and that even in, that we've seen yet.
Yes, second place.
Second place is Queen Latifah in the Roxy wig. That's what you texted me. So I was like, like, this would be an interesting thing to keep track of. I think we're, like, kind of not officially keeping track of, like, moments we've cried and been really sad, but I think we could also keep track of, like, LOL moments, you know, times that we, like, audibly laughed. And I think the Roxy wig was one of them. I also think the guy being run over by horses.
Fanny fucking Bridges dancing.
Fanny, yes, I was thinking Fanny Bridges in general. Like, every time she was on the screen, hilarious.
I thought about from Wings when we see the selfie Polaroid photo that Mary gives. And then his pain smile expression back. I think that was the first time we laughed, period.
Yes. And then when Mary's like above ground and like dodging bombs, like hide, and then she's just fine. She survived like a whole war attack on her own.
I think certainly we have to talk about Essie from You Can't Take It With You, just her dancing in every single scene.
Oh, yes, that's actually what I was talking about when I said Fanny. It's Essie.
Oh,
her
Essie,
just dancing in the background of every scene, and just her character in general made me laugh out loud many times. A film we've shown very little respect, Around the World in 80 Days, but when he was riding on the back of that ostrich,
The ostrich, yep.
The ostrich, we laughed.
I would give an honorable mention in terms of endearment when she flips Jack Nicholson off into the ocean, and then she has that very bizarre walk into the ocean. Like, it's just an image burned into my brain.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, and I wanted to bring this up too, the miss part. Miss. We did laugh. We laughed at that and rewound it and watched it again.
That's right. That's a better one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely have some contenders out there.
For sure. I feel like Chicago in general, we laughed at some of like the lyrics and just kind of the funny stuff in there.
I like the diary reveal where Richard Gere's like, my client's never had a diary. And then Roxy's like, and she broke the lock on it too.
Yes. No, they were good ones. I mean, I was thinking, I just listened to our Nomadland podcast. I think we chuckled at a few things in that. But yeah, in general, we've had some good times. We've had some bad times, but
there's certainly movies where we could not laugh at all. Looking at you, 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, I know. I was just looking through our list and I looked at that and I went right past it. I said, there's no way I laughed at anything in that movie. So yeah, we'll continue to keep you up to date on what we laugh at, what we find funny, even if they're not actually funny, but they're just funny to us.
Right.
Yeah, but I thought that'd be a good addition to keep track of.
Yeah, so this... And Herman, after being slapped 1,000 times, he gets in line here. So the boys are a choir now. And so we're going to see Fitzgibbon literally hearing the boys singing. And he could not be more fucking annoyed by it all that he's going to go to the bishop. And all this happens off camera. We do not see the meeting between him and the bishop. But he's had it. He's going to go to the bishop. He's going to ask for O'Malley to be transferred. I guess singing boys and having a choir for your church is the final straw for him, which is unbelievable.
Well, because he hears this beautiful boys choir. Right. And he's like, that was his final straw. This gathering of boys staying out of trouble and singing this beautiful harmony, and they're singing like Three Blind Mice, and he's like, absolutely not.
How fucking
I'm going to talk to the bishop. He like angrily puts his hat and coat on and leaves, and like you said, we don't see any meeting, but then he comes back.
Yep, he comes back and the wind is out of his sails. He's a little bit somber. He's a little Charlie Brown walking over to a chair, and O'Malley is there. The boys are gone, so it's nighttime now at this point. And Fitzgibbon tells the truth here. He was like, I went to go see the bishop. I went to go complain about you. I went to go to have you transferred somewhere else. And the bishop, I could just tell how the bishop was talking to me and thanking me for my years of service, that it dawned on me basically that you're here to replace me. And Fitzgibbon basically knows the truth now. You can tell he's crushed. You know, he's worked there for 45 years. We talked about with Nomadland, this idea of like, you work your whole life and then you are kind of put out to pasture, is hitting Fitzgibbon here. And he shares further that he told the bishop, like, let O'Malley run things. He can be in charge. That's fine. Basically, I'll step down. Yeah. And so he says all this to O'Malley, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to go upstairs and go to bed. But like an 18-year-old runaway, he actually sneaks out and he has a sad walk in the rain.
Sneaks out. Wait, that's hilarious. He's like, I'm running away.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very like Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy and then on that sad train.
And he did pack like a small bag. It's very like a kid that pulls any bag out of their closet and puts like their toothbrush and 4 pairs of pants in there. Like, yes, you're so right. It was so funny that he did this. And then they go to look for him and he's just gone. Yeah. So it was kind of like, where'd he go? But yeah, you're right. Talking about it now, it's such an adolescent thing to do. Yeah.
And eventually he comes back and he was out there in the soaking wet because it's really raining out there. And so this does lead to a pretty wholesome scene between O'Malley and Fitzgibbon where O'Malley has put him into bed, put him in his pajamas, put him into bed. There's no sexual tension here. But the barriers are coming down now. They're having an honest conversation with each other and they're getting to know one another. They're talking about their mothers. They're also like taking shots. I wrote shots.
Yeah, they're taking shots, and it was in like from a bottle of liquor he had to like hide in a bookcase in this like musical,
or like a music box.
This music box that's like hidden in a bookcase. And it's funny because like he hid it, but then this music box that it's in, when you open it, it plays music. So I'm like, that's the most unstealthy way to hide something, is in a box that plays music as soon as
it has
you
an
open
alarm.
It. Yeah, it has an alarm. So I was just laughing at that, but
so they're talking about their mothers, and Fitzgibbon is like, well, my mom is still in Ireland and she's got to be 90 years old at this point and probably never going to see her again. And he's asking O'Malley about his mom, and O'Malley's like, she died when I was really young and all these things. So the boys are bonding here, and really from here on out, they're going to see a little bit more eye to eye now. They're going to be a little bit more on the same page. Fitzgibbon's going to be a little less grinchy and a little bit more
understanding. Yeah. Well, and he talks about this song that his mom used to sing to him to sleep. And this is really, I think how the scene ends is Bing Crosby, O'Malley starts singing him this song called Tu Ralu Ralu Ral. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I guess it's a popular song, but it was very lullaby-esque for it to be singing it, and then really it fades to black, and that's the end of that scene.
And so here the movie kind of pivots in a kind of weird way for me, or not an effective way. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but we're like 1 hour into the movie at this point, and we're going to see Father O'Malley out on the streets, and he's got a big coat on, so you can't really see his little like priest garb, and he's walking by the Met, the Metropolitan Opera or whatever, and not the sports Mets, but the museum Met.
Is it the same? I don't know if it's the Met is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but this is the Metropolitan Opera House, so it's a little different.
They're different. Okay.
Yeah, they're different. There's 3 Mets apparently.
Well, that's even more confusing.
There's the Metropolitan Opera, which is just a big opera company. Yeah. There's the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is where all the students sit on Gossip Girl, and you would hear the Met and what Joey confuses for Mets. And the Mets are a baseball team. So, wow, so
they
much
probably
sports.
Went to Baltimore. Yeah.
They later moved to Baltimore.
And so he just happens to be walking by
the Metropolitan Opera House.
The Met, and the one and only Met. And this woman, like, just opens a door and is like, Chuck, hey!
Oh!
We get introduced to Jenny Tuffle here. Which sounds like a porn name. Porn star. Oh, I'm Jenny
Tuffle. That does not sound like a porn name at all. It's like the most.
I'm Jenny Tuffle.
Jenny Tuffle. Yeah,
starring in Lawrence of Arabia.
That is not a porn name.
But apparently she's like an old girlfriend of Chuck here. And turns out she's like this big opera star. And I believe the opera that's being performed is Carmen.
Carmen, yep.
Yeah, so Chuck is kind of like flabbergasted to see her, but he's also like surprised, happy. It doesn't seem like, maybe it's a little awkward, but it doesn't seem like there's any sort of bad blood there. And she is like this really tall, beautiful woman who is a real opera singer in real life. And she's kind of taking him by the hand and pulling him through the one and only Met. And they're walking through like the stage and behind it. And he's like, what part do you have in Carmen? And she's like, well, I'm Carmen. So establishing that she's like the star.
Well, and because he did see on the front and it says like starring, and she is using a stage name. Yes, so I think that was another part of it, and he didn't know that. So he kept calling her Jenny Tuffle, and she's like, no, I'm Genevieve now. But
Yeah, I had to drop my porn name for
For
a new professional name,
an
Genevieve.
actual porn name. I think Genevieve is pornier, but
Let us know in the comments in our socials if you think Jenny or Genevieve.
comment below. Jenny Tuffle or Genevieve, what's her last name?
Linden.
Genevieve Linden or Jenny Tuffle. Please comment below.
So I'll give you the headlines of the scene really, because she kind of like leads him to her dressing room, but it's like a dressing room suite because she goes into another room, and they just have this whole conversation with a closed door in between them while she's getting ready to go out on stage. But she wants to know like why she's never heard from him. Like, you know, oh, like I used to get your letters when I was like on tour, on my world tour, my opera world tour, whatever.
Gonna ruin the tour.
And he seems very confused out there. And meanwhile, he's taking his coat off, where we can clearly see is like, you know, the thing that priests wear with the priest collar thing. But she hasn't walked out there, so she hasn't seen it. She was like, I don't know why you ever stopped telling me. He's like, didn't you get my last letter? And she was like, well, the last letter I got, I was in Brazil, you know, partying it up, and I never heard from you after that. Basically, she never got his last letter that explained that he was going to join priesthood, but then she opens the door and sees him in his priest, and she's like, oh, well, there you have it.
Oh, got it.
She's like, so you dropped your porn name too. And so, yeah, we get introduced to kind of a semi-major player just halfway through the movie, which I thought was an interesting choice, but...
Well, and she is like on the front of the movie, you know, what am I
in the
looking
credits.
for?
Her name is
yeah,
like...
she's very early in the credits, and she was actually credited early as, you know, her name is Risa Stevens, so she's like credited, and then it even mentions in the opening credits like operatic, you know, like as an opera singer. She's on the movie cover, her character, and she's mentioned on the movie cover. So I was like, there's got to be some woman involved in this movie, and she was introduced so late. So I was like, oh, now she's going to be a big part of the movie, and she just wasn't as big as I thought. But
yeah,
you know, whatever. It was nice to have this little tidbit of almost like humanizing the O'Malley in a way and seeing what his life used to be and kind of what he has, how he had to change his life to get where he is now.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because we met like Carol James first, so you thought maybe like, okay, she's the female lead of the story, like she's important, but then instead like, oh, this character makes a little bit more sense. She's actually tied to Chuck's past or whatever, and we know it's a musical and we know it's a comedy, so is like, is there romance involved? You know, I wondered like, will we go down this route where like his priestly obligations are getting in the way of his horny obligations? I don't know. And then we get like a very long sort of like scene from the opera where we actually get to hear her sing, and it was very reminiscent of Cavalcade when we had to actually watch like 10 minutes of whatever production. Next thing you know, old Quimp is back.
I wrote Miss Quimp back with some tea.
She cannot fucking help herself. She hears some gossip and she goes immediately to her local church to tell her priest. She's like, cannot wait. She's got no fucking friends. She's like, I can't wait to tell my pastor about this. And so she's already had this conversation with Fitzgibbon by the time O'Malley like shows up, and what they are slyly sort of hinting at, they're like, you know, that Carol girl, that 18-year-old runaway, get this, she's been living across the street, and guess who's been coming in and out of the door at night? Ted Jr.
Very good, Miss Quimp.
Thank you. And so Fitzgibbon's like, Chuck, you better go handle this.
Look into this.
You better investigate this with the highest authority of the law provided. Like, this is big news. And so Chuck goes over to this apartment, and where both Ted Jr. and Carol are there, and they're explaining that how they like first met. They kind of just like randomly bumped into each other, and I guess this apartment was like vacant, and Carol just kind of moved in, and Ted just didn't tell her to move out. And so I can understand from Quimp being fucking pissed about that. She's like, that guy was trying to fucking evict me, but here comes pretty little Carol, and she gets to just, is she paying rent? And so Chuck is like, he's not, you know, I think Fitzgibbon and Quimp want him to go break up this relationship, but instead he just asks them some questions. And
and Miss Quimp is pissed because at the one point in the scene or in the movie, the Hayneses are coming after her and saying like, you owe us rent, blah blah blah. And so O'Malley brings it up. He's like, isn't it a little unfair for you after burdening Miss Quimp like you have to let, you know, Miss James stay here rent free? And Haynes is like, I don't think so. She's hot. Yeah, basically. She's hot. Yeah, like
she's hot, not cute.
It's fine. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he kind of, I think, uses that, and I'm sure that's why originally Miss Quimp came and said this, because she's like, nuh-uh, this is not fair. So O'Malley really handles it as well as he can and starts playing piano.
He's like, oh, you just happen to have this piano, of course, because every scene that I'm in, there's got to be a piano nearby.
Right.
And he sings an original song, Going My Way, the title of the movie. And I didn't really, like I do to all songs and all musicals, I didn't pay attention to the lyrics, but whatever the song messaging included was resonant.
Well, he kind of has like a moment with these two young people, and he talks about how he was offered a job in the army to be like a performer for the army in the army, and he would like sing and travel with them. And he's like, I had to decide at that point, he said, if I wanted to sing the nation's song or if I wanted to go my way. And that leads into then him singing this song, which is about, going your way in life.
Yeah.
You have many directions, but you need to decide what way you want to go. So then these two young people, I think you kind of see it like hitting them. And they're kind of like, Young Haynes does not really like what he does with his dad. We can already tell that. Young Carol, we know, doesn't like her parents and is kind of in a spot. So I think you kind of get where this is going to go. But I think it was a good scene to kind of see again. And I think we see O'Malley using his music in his profession. And I guess that's what makes this a musical. But yeah, so that's when they're introduced to this song. And I think it was a good introduction to the song.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just Bing Crosby singing, I really liked it. I'm not going to lie.
I appreciate the singers actually singing using their own voices.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carly, for paying attention to the song and to its meaning and messaging.
Always.
I really needed you there. And you could tell, both Carol and Ted Jr., their minds are sort of spinning as the scene ends. And so we're going to cut away from them. Jenny/Genevieve, if you nasty, she comes to hear the boys sing. So they're in this, like, the boys only can sing in this basement, this dirty ass basement. And the boys are all singing and she's just like loving it. She's all smiles. She thinks they're so talented. And they sing
Ave Maria.
Yeah, they sing Ave Maria, which made me think of that SNL skit, Carly.
Which one? Oh, yeah.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Brittany, bitch. If you know at all what we're talking about, please text us because we love you.
Yeah.
That is iconic in our friendship, and it's a big piece of our history.
Jenny was like, girl, that's approved. She loves this boys choir.
I wrote, Jenny starts operaing with the men, with the boys. So she joins in with her opera voice.
Timmy is there, Timmy O'Dowd. He's been out of the story for a little bit, but he's there. And so we're learning that, like, O'Malley, Chuck here, he's trying to get his original song, Going My Way. They're trying to sell it to a publisher, a music executive who will sell it. And with what not being said is the money would then be used to help save the church, right? And so Timmy, unfortunately, is there with some bad news where he's like, hey, like, I gave them the music sheets and everything, and they passed on the song. And so you would think, like, oh man, this is the part of the movie where we're sad. But they're like, okay, that's fine. But they're gonna cook up a scheme later, but we're not gonna fully see it yet because we gotta stop down back to Ted Jr. and Carol with another very funny fucking scene. I swear to God.
It was funny. I wrote so many notes because it was funny.
It's very bizarre. Ted Sr. shows up and Carol's the one that answers the door. And so he's miffed about seeing her. And he walks in and he's like, my son quit his job. What are you doing here? And she's like, Dad.
Dad. Oh, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Let me see if I can find him. Give me 1 second, Dad.
Again, she is not miffed by anyone. Like, people have treated her rudely, and she has never only responded with this like delusional happiness.
Yeah.
And so Ted Jr. comes out and he like scoops her up in her arms, and they're spinning around until finally she's like, "Hey, your dad's like over there in the corner."
And to which you thought he would be like, "Oh, ooh, hey, Dad."
Ooh.
No, he had the biggest grin. He says,
Yeah.
"Hello, Dad."
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad.
Hop in. You want to join? And so Ted Jr. breaks the news to Ted Sr. We're married. We got married. And we do learn like he had quit his job working for his father, and he's going to go his own way, as the song and movie title would suggest. And not only that, but he goes back into the back room and is getting changed. And meanwhile, Carol's out there. She's like, what are we going to do, Dad?
Well,
oh, Dad, isn't this so exciting?
Dad. Well, and this cracked me up. The fact, like, they were just lounging around the house, like, even once Ted Sr. got there, they're just laying on the couch, like snuggling almost, just like talking to him. And Ted Jr. gets up, he's like, all right, well, I should go get ready. Like, you would think he's going to the store or like has to go run a couple errands. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go get dressed, I'll be right back, babe. And that's when he goes in the back room and she's out there talking, and you learn that he's like joined the army or whatever, and she's like, man, Dad, what are we gonna do while he's away? And
it's just us now, Dad.
Just us, just me and you now, Dad. And then Ted Jr. comes out wearing his his uniform.
Yep.
And he's like leaving for the war right now. Like, I don't know why they acted like it was a normal Saturday afternoon. Like, I've never had a loved one go off to war that lived in my house, but I can assume there's a lot more emotion behind it on the day of. Brad, you're nodding because you have had that happen. And I just can't imagine.
It's typically a somber affair.
Sure. And they just, again, they were lounging like it was a lazy Sunday.
Yeah.
And he got up like he had to go brush his teeth and just get ready for the day. And then he's like, all right, I'm off.
Yeah, so not only did he tell his dad that he got married, but he's also joined the army and leaving like today. And his dad just happened to stop by.
Now. And then he does leave, and Carol looks at Ted Sr. and said, he's gone, Dad.
And he has like not a word to say. He is so gooped and gagged by this whole interaction.
Gooped and gagged.
It's so good.
It is so bizarre.
All right, well, let's get to the climax of the film, if you will.
And that's really the end of them. That's the end of Carol and Ted Haynes. Like, that's the end. I guess it was just an example of somebody going their way, the impact that Father O'Malley had on these two young children. And yeah, it was like the most bizarre scene. And I wanted to rewatch it if it wasn't late when I was watching it, but I was like, what just happened? So yeah, then we cut back to real life.
We're going to check back in with the boys choir. So Jenny/Genevieve, if you're nasty, she's going to pull her connections at the one and only Met. And she's going to have the boys perform the song Going My Way at the Met Opera with like a full orchestra. And they're going to perform this to some music executives in order to try to sell this song like one more time. And so Timmy O'Dowd has worked his connections to get the music execs to actually come over to the Met. And we see the full performance here. This is certainly a grand way to try to sell your song. And at the end of it, the music exec stands up and he's like, hey, it was cute, not hot. It's going to be a no for me.
Is a running theme in this movie.
And you would think like, again, like, oh man, this is the part of the movie where we're sad. And they're like, okie dokie, why don't we sing one more song, boys, since we're here? And they sing like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something. I don't know. And
no, Brad, please. Okay, this song I think won Best Song at the Oscars, so we need to talk about it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think so.
So they sing a song called Swinging on a Star, and it is cute, this version. I looked for this version specifically on Spotify because the little boys like jump in and sing, and it is cute. Yeah. But no, it's called Swinging on a Star, and it is about basically what we have been talking about, choosing the path that you want of self-improvement, choosing to be more responsible, or choosing just to do what you want to do in a more self-improving way over being lazy and foolish. I looked into the song, I guess the writer of the song, his son one day was like, I don't want to go to school. And the dad was like, well, then you're going to be a mule. And basically the whole song is about different like characters and different ways to be kind of lazy. But it's like, if you're not, you could be swinging on a star and you can do these better things. And then it says like, would you rather be a fish? Would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are? Or would you rather be a fish? And it kind of goes into like what being a fish would do. A fish won't do anything but swim in a brook. He can't write his name or read a book. It's very Dr. Seussy to me, honestly, if you read it. But I guess the song really hit. And honestly, the exec said that the song wasn't like romance enough or something. They said it wasn't like what we're looking for. And then they really loved the Swinging on a Star song, which I just didn't feel like was as good as the Going My Way song. But I guess that's just for the story.
It was funny because when the song ends, suddenly these three grown men like emerge from behind a curtain and they're like, oh, now that song we love.
Oh, now that's approved.
Girl, that's approved.
That's approved. The last stanza in the song, Swinging on a Star, is, and all the monkeys aren't in a zoo. Every day you meet quite a few. So you see it's all up to you. You can be better than you are. You could be swinging on a star. So it's like there's people everywhere. Everyone's doing what they want to do, but know that you can choose what you want to do. And if you choose it right, you could be swinging on a star. So wow. I did do a little dive into this song just because it had a big role, and I think it did win the Oscar, but yeah, I liked the song. I didn't like it as much as Going My Way, and I think the execs are dead wrong. But
no, thank you so much for paying attention to this song. I was so ready to breeze right past it, and
of course, I knew you would.
So these music execs are going to buy the rights to Swinging on a Star, and they're going to make it a pop theme. They're going to put Lady Gaga on it, and they're going to remix it for the club, and it's going to be So the church is saved in that regard. And we do get a kind of a cute, wholesome scene where we see Father Fitzgibbon out there on the golf course. He's golfing with both O'Malley and O'Dowd, and they're teaching him how to golf, and they're even like letting him win. Cute scene again, indicative of the fact that Fitzgibbon has gone through a bit of a journey here and is like letting go of these things that don't really matter. So,
yeah.
And because he committed the sin of golfing, his church burns down.
No, they're all, so this montage, they're playing golf, and then they go and they show him playing checkers in the church with all these people, and they do. And then there's this nice scene of, because he committed this sin, there's this nice scene of Fitzgibbon and O'Malley, and he's like, now that this is kind of at a good place, like, I really think you should go see your mom. And right away, I think O'Dowd runs in, and he's like, fire! Yeah, so, I mean, it could be because of the sin he committed, but yeah, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a fire starts.
Yep, the movie is like, oh yeah, we gotta have something dramatic here.
Yes,
to be a drama.
A comedy music drama.
They're like, okay, and now it's time for our drama section of the movie. So the church is burnt down, but like the Who's waking up on Christmas morning with none of their stuff, they all gathered outside the charred remains of the church, and they're not going to let this get them down. Okay.
Father Fitzgibbon is, in the background you see this completely burnt down church, and Father Fitzgibbon is putting water into the only part of the church that's left, this little bird bath, and he's just like, like, I'm gonna keep doing what I can do. Like, people are gonna keep coming back, and the old Fitzgibbon, the hour and a half ago Fitzgibbon at the beginning of the movie, would have taken this differently. But
instead, I think he's picked up on O'Malley's sort of hope and optimism, and it's like, we will rebuild, and it will be better. And so they put that boy choir to work. They are now carpenters. So some time has passed. We're approaching like this like Christmas Eve time frame here, and so the renovations are ongoing with the church and stuff like that, and we're gonna see a scene between O'Malley and Fitzgibbon inside this sort of in progress kind of church going on. But Chuck is going to reveal to Fitzgibbon and to us, the audience, that the bishop has ordered his transfer somewhere else, and so he has to break the news to Fitzgibbon. You can tell Fitzgibbon is really disappointed to hear this. Like, he's sad, and he's being assigned to another church that has some trouble in it, and O'Malley needs to go and fix it up. And so I thought that was interesting, because this movie can be really framed as like, oh, like O'Malley came and helped this church, and now he could go on to another church, and this can set up a sequel where he helps another church, and this whole franchise can just be O'Malley showing up with a bunch of strangers and changing their lives for the better, and then leaving it to move on to help more people, whatever.
Wait, did you know there is a sequel of...
There is a sequel.
Okay, I was going to say, there is one of him going to help another church, right?
So this is all sequel setup. O'Malley is getting transferred.
Well, and I think O'Malley even said, the bishop is transferring me. He said that you seem much younger and stronger now. Yeah. So I think that was a good line too. And yeah, I think, like you said, it was like, oh, so his work is done.
And I think Fitzgibbon is getting the permission from the bishop to keep running the church for a little longer. Like, it's no longer a conversation about being replaced. And in fact, he's going to be assigned a new assistant, and we're going to learn that it's Timmy. And Fitzgibbon doesn't look enthused by this, but Timmy's like, oh man, I'm going to be the best assistant to you yet. And so we're also going to learn, the boy choir got to go like on a tour with Jenny/Genevieve, and then Tony Scapone, he's fully reformed now. He's going to be running the boys choir. So again, a lot of these scenes are pretty quick. It's a lot of like checkboxy, we got to kind of tie up on loose ends. And Tony, though, in the scene with O'Malley, where they're talking about where Tony's going to be kind of running the boys choir and stuff, Tony hints at like, oh, is the surprise ready to go, for the Christmas Eve, concert and stuff. And O'Malley's like, yep, the surprise is a go. We're all set for it. So we don't know what's happening necessarily, but this is all going to lead to this like Christmas Eve evening sort of choir performance inside the dilapidated church. And we see O'Malley kind of sneak away, and he's like greeting this very ancient old woman into the church. And while Fitzgibbon kind of goes up and gives a sermon, and suddenly he sees O'Malley and he sees this ancient old woman, and we realize that this is his 90-year-old.
Why did you have to say ancient old woman?
This old crone.
She did look very old, but you did not have to say it that way.
This old, decrepit, ancient Skeletor-looking woman. Fitzgibbon Caesar.
Like.
And we realize this is his mom. The surprise is that O'Malley got Fitzgibbon's mom to be here in person for the sermon. And it's probably definitely the sweetest moment of the whole film, where Fitzgibbon just tearfully sort of hugs his mom, and
the choir sings.
Yeah.
Fa la ru la song. The lullaby that his mom used to sing. Yeah.
And this is where O'Malley kind of sneaks away. His job is done. He sneaks out the little side door. He's like, And that's how the movie ends.
And that's it. Fade to black.
Yeah. So very kind of interesting story, I think, in general. The director, Leo McCarey, he also is like credited for the story. He didn't write the screenplay, but he's credited with the story. So he clearly had a very specific vision for what he wanted to do. And I think if we're ready to just talk in general, kind of how we feel and what our ratings are and the emoji we chose, I think.
Yeah.
Was this movie successful at being a comedy, musical, and a drama? I don't think so. I think it tried to be 30% of each.
Yeah.
And I think the movie would have just benefited from being a full comedy, a full musical, or a full drama. Like, you just got to pick a POV, and I think the movie was trying to be hot, not cute.
Totally. The movie was trying to do so much. And I think it was a really good story that was kind of diluted, you know?
Yeah.
My brother-in-law asked me after I watched this movie, he was like, how was the movie? And I was like, it was fine, you know?
Yeah.
It was fine. And I think if they would have dug a little deeper into some areas, it would have helped. But in general, like you said, cute, not hot is a really good way to put this movie.
I was thinking about it a little bit further, and I did wonder, Carly, if you were going to be much higher on it, because, you know, after our whole cavalcade debacle, I never know where your head's going to be at. But I was like, I can see Carly really enjoying this just because it is so wholesome. But I think for 1944 audiences, just thinking about like the dark and bleak time in which they live, I wouldn't begrudge anybody for sort of needing a film like this and needing it during such a dark and bleak time in life. And I think even now in 2026, when things feel dark as well, like, I wouldn't begrudge anybody for enjoying a movie like this or seeking a movie out like this.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I appreciate the film for that kind of perspective. And I think I'm predicting or assuming that it won Best Picture because of its sort of themes of kind of hope and optimism and light in dark times. So
it's a really good point.
But for me, I'm a dark, cold-hearted bitch, and I need a little darkness. And I
Well, and I think too, you know, it was right in the middle of the war. So you wonder if the movie options too just weren't there. So I that's a really good point what you said. I think the themes were beyond appreciated at this point, but also like the options of movies can't have been big. I'm sure you'll go over what movies were nominated, but even that, like, no way they were making movies at a good rate in 1944.
I'll get into it further, but yeah, the lesser half, I would say, like, the other movies are more drama, thriller, kind of darker in tone. So I think it only speaks again to like, oh, so why did this one win? And I think it's probably, have to imagine a movie like this probably hit them really hard and really resonated with them. So
yeah, and people fucking love Bing Crosby.
Yes,
like people are obsessed with him to this day. So I feel like just him, you know, being on your screen, that had to have
singing,
just been
having a good time.
Yeah.
So the emoji that we chose, and for the second movie in a row, it's a little on the nose, but we did choose the church emoji.
Yeah. I mean, it just made sense.
It just made sense. You know, I thought about the turkey. I kind of wanted to do the hand waving one because it looked like a slap, but I was like, no, the church really sums it up. And if you allow me, Carly, I'll go first with my rating.
Yeah, I would love to hear.
I'm going to give this movie a 2 church out of 5. I'm going to give it a 2. And it's not really a matter of like, oh, the movie lost me. I think the story is very fine. It's just not going to be a story that I prefer. You know, 2 priests, it's all feel good. I would love to have seen more conflict. I would have loved to see some intriguing story twists or turns. I think about the apartment where like we knew information before the characters did. And I think that's always same thing with You Can't Take It With You. If I'm trying to compare to other movies from this era of similar genre, like we got to know information before the characters did. And that's always juicier. Here, everything was kind of presented matter-of-factly. There wasn't really anything to dig deep or discover on. All the themes and messaging are right there at the surface for you. And if that's the kind of movie viewer you like, if that's how you want to consume your movies, that's totally fine. I think for me, I want to think about it a little deeper, and there's not much more deeper to think about this movie. So yeah. What about you, Carly? Where do you sit with it? I
am also going to put it at 2 churches. And like you said, thinking about it for the past couple days, we're always it starts at a 3 and it gets knocked down to a 2. And I don't think there's anything specific that I was like, oh, that knocks it. But like I said, I just wanted a little more. And I think even there's a lot of movies that I've seen that aren't Oscar winning movies that I just think give more, you know? And for it to be a best picture of the year, I wanted a little more, even like a little more. I feel like we didn't dive deep into any of the characters. We just kind of were surface level with everyone, and it was a nice, pleasant experience of a movie. But yeah, I think it's a 2. I definitely don't think it's a 1. I think it had more zhuzh than that, but I think a 2 church movie is a good spot for it.
I approve.
What would you say is this for the gays?
I'm gonna say no. I think like, can a gay man watch the movie? Sure, but I don't think a gay man would enjoy this movie because they are gay, you know? Like, there's just nothing. Quimpy does say the word queer at some point, but she meant to estrange. You know, that's not enough, unfortunately, to make this for the gays. So sorry to you, Quimp. But Quimp is certainly, I could see her in another world being a gay icon. I think gays could really resonate.
I was actually going to ask, do you think the gays would stan Quimp?
Yeah, and it's interesting, like Wikipedia, like she's not even credited like on Wikipedia. Like, I don't know if
Neither are the 2 boys.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Tony
that's
and
crazy.
Herman or whatever. Yeah, they are not credited either.
And I thought she was a big enough character that she certainly had lines, and the actress really sold it. She really sold that character. So I'll give her some props there. But no, not for the gays. Carly, is this for the girls?
For all the same reasons, no. Would not think it's for the girls. It didn't have anything that just made it like, ooh, like girly pop positive. So yeah, anybody can watch it, but...
Well, let's rank it. I do have a specific spot where I think it could land.
I'm interested because I have decided in my head where I think it could land. So let's hear from you.
Okay. I would like to put it in D tier between All the King's Men and GG.
Oh, okay.
What were you thinking?
I could see that for sure. My thought was D tier. I was thinking below GG, but I could see it being above GG. Absolutely. I think I did enjoy this movie more than GG, so I could see that. Cool. I'm down with that.
Okay.
A solid D tier movie, though. I was gonna be insistent on that, so I'm glad we both agreed.
Well, let me, unless you want to guess, but I'll tell you the Rotten Tomato score for Going My Way.
I did have a guess that I want to give.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess 80.
Okay, you're not far off.
Okay.
This movie got an 85% on Rotten
85.
Tomatoes. So, in terms of the movies we've covered, it's like 4th from the bottom. I think it's only higher than Terms of Endearment, which crazy to me. It's higher than Around the World in 80 Days, and it's higher than Cavalcade.
Yeah, Cavalcade, didn't they get like a 50? 64?
Cavalcade got 64, yeah.
That's ridiculous. Well, let's hear, Brad, about these Oscars.
Yeah, well, real quick, just about the director, Leo McCarey.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear about the director.
He was he was really known for his like screwball comedies, like in this early Hollywood stage film, but then he very clearly pivoted to have overtly religious films, which this certainly meets the quota. This movie does have a sequel that he directed, The Bells of St. Mary's. He also directed a movie called An Affair to Remember, which it's just a movie title I've heard, which is why I've noted it. I haven't seen it, but he is a 2-time Best Director Oscar winner. So he will win for this movie. And then he also wins for a movie called The Awful Truth, which did not win Best Picture, but he is a 2-time Oscar winner. So congrats to you, Leo.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the 17th Academy Awards. This was hosted by Bob Hope. And if you will recall, he hosted the Oscars 19 times. So this is one of his 19. He also had like a co-host, a guy, John Cromwell. And the only thing I know about John Cromwell is that he was born in Toledo, Ohio. So
love.
And then a man named Hal B. Wallace presented Best Picture. The thing about Hal is he's a big movie producer, and he produced Casablanca.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this lesser half. There's only 5 films nominated for Best Motion Picture. The first one is Double Indemnity, which was directed by Billy Wilder, who also directed The Apartment, and we love him. So I feel like Double Indemnity is a movie title I definitely have heard, but I have not seen. This is kind of a film noir sort of thriller. It had 7 nominations and 0 wins. So again, I feel like we weren't really rewarding the darker noir sort of stories, perhaps. The next movie is called Gaslight. Girl boss. No, it's just called Gaslight. This was directed by George Cukor, who directs My Fair Lady, a future Best Picture winner. So
can't wait to talk about that movie someday.
Gaslight, though, had 7 nominations and 2 wins. Ingrid Bergman wins Best Actress for this movie, and it also wins in Art Direction or something like that. But we have talked about Ingrid Bergman before. She presented the Best Picture award to Gigi, and she's a 3-time Oscar winner in the Best Actress category. So she's kind of up there in that pantheon. Yeah. And this is one of her Best Actress wins. The next film is called Since You Went Away. This was directed by John Cromwell, who is also a co-host. And then it wins in Best Original Score. So it's not going to win in song, but it is going to win in score. So 9 nominations and 1 win. This last film is called Well Said. And it had 10 nominations. So tied with the most, with Going My Way with the most. Had 5 wins. So this was a pretty big winner. Wilson is like a biographical film about Woodrow Wilson, or a person. A volleyball. I did also read that the producers of Wilson tried and spent a lot of money like pushing this movie and wanting it to win Best Picture. And when they lost, they were very fucking bitter.
Very fucking bitter.
Yeah, so they had 5 wins. They also win in art direction - interior. It wins in cinematography, editing, sound, and original writing. And then Going My Way had 10 nominations and 7 wins, so it is the big winner of the night. Wins in Best Motion Picture. Leo wins in Best Director. Bing Crosby does take home the Oscar for Best Actor here. And Barry Fitzgerald, who plays Fitzgibbon, he does win Best Supporting Actor, but we also got there's like a little asterisk there. Mm-hmm. And then this film also wins in Screenplay, a category called Motion Picture Story, and song, like you referenced, Carly. So Swinging on a Star does win them an Oscar. And it loses in cinematography, it loses in editing, and it also loses in the Best Actor category, again, for Barry Fitzgerald. So
yeah,
this is, I'm sure you saw this too, Carly, but this Oscars is unique, where Barry Fitzgerald as an actor gets 2 acting nominations for both Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor for playing the same character for the same movie in the same night, and he wins it in one category. But this is very unusual. This is not...
Yeah, they like amended the rules because of this.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking. I probably would have said that he is a supporting character, and I think Bing Crosby being in the Best Actor and Barry Fitzgerald being supporting makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would have them in both. I don't know why Bing Crosby wouldn't have been in both. Yeah, where's the line? And to my knowledge, this is the only time in Oscars history something like this has ever happened. So he both wins and loses an Oscar for this role, which is
a weird
crazy.
Night.
And this is the only other notable thing about this Oscars is this is the first time that it's broadcast nationally on radio. So we haven't made it to the TV era yet, but at least on radio, fully broadcast, and Bob Hope sort of narrates the entire ceremony via radio. That is the 17th Academy Awards. And so, yeah, so that lesser half, I mean, these are all sort of like historical dramas, serious, dark, darker in tone. So again, I think it really just emphasizes that why I think this movie won this night, why we are talking about this movie today.
Totally. It's going to make me want to look at the culture of the country at each year and decide why this specific movie won, Right. I'm sure there's some kind of rhyme or reason in each of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Well, Carly, what came up in your research? What actors did you dive deep?
So, of course, I dug in on our main man.
Bing.
Tony. Yo, Bing.
Tony Soprano.
Tony Soprano. No, I looked in at Bing Crosby. I mean, it's just a name that you just know. You know him, you love him. One of the first things that I looked into was him in relation to this movie, of course, and he is the first actor that was nominated twice for portraying the same character. So you had mentioned there's a sequel the following year. They had The Bells of St. Mary's, and he was nominated for Best Actor for that film, but did not win. But he is the first, and I don't know, maybe I would imagine one of the only actors to be nominated in different years for playing the same character. There can't be that many.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I can't think of any, at least.
Maybe one of your Lord of the Rings movies, but... So that was a big thing. We had mentioned, he is the voice of White Christmas. I mean, he's the popular White Christmas guy. And Silent Night, which he sang. So both of those are big Bing Crosby. If you know the song, like that's probably the version you're thinking of, is the Bing Crosby version. He also he was a big investor. He had a lot of money, of course, and he invested it a lot. He was the main owner of the Minute Maid Orange Juice Company. So thanks, Bing.
Thanks, Mr. Crosby.
I know. Thanks, Mr. Crosby. It was a big thing for him, was that Minute Maid orange juice. I guess it was his most profitable investment. Obviously, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Was huge on screen and music, of course. He was pretty much the pioneer. So he did a lot of radio shows, and he decided that he didn't want to go in every day and do radio shows. So he's like, what if we record like 4 or 5 and then we just release them? And I guess this like led to an uproar. It's like people are like, what? This isn't live. Like, this isn't even real time. And I guess like him pioneering this, and I mean that's how most stuff are done these days. It's like rare for things to be live. So he did this with audio, and then he moved it to video as well. So a lot of stuff was live, and then he was a big pioneer of the pre-record and air later kind of movement. So I think a lot of actors probably thank him for that because it's probably really helpful.
Right. Imagine doing this podcast live, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, we could never. So he had 7 kids with 2 different women, which is fine. But there's a lot of things out there about how he was abusive to his children.
Bing.
And he's like, is on record saying like, I'm just parenting. And there's a couple of his kids that are like, yeah, he was just like a parent that used old fashioned disciplinary measures. You know, that's just how parents used to do it. But I guess there's his 2 oldest children often, one of them wrote a book and it was like My Dad Crosby or something and wrote about how abusive he was. But then all the other kids are like, no, he wasn't. So there's just a lot of drama out there about that.
Yeah.
But I know I don't usually talk about deaths on this podcast, but there's a couple of deaths I want to talk about. The first one is Bing. He was notable for playing golf. He liked to golf a lot, and he plays golf in this movie. And on October 14th, 1977, he shot 18 holes with a bunch of friends, and he won. It was like one of his best games ever. And he looked at all his friends, and he said, that was a great game of golf, fellas. Let's go have a Coca-Cola. And walked away and died.
You're telling me he committed the sin of golfing, and he was struck down where he stood.
Yep, he was headed to get a Coca-Cola, of all things.
That's how I see myself going out one day, just heading for a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I really do.
I really do.
That's wild.
Yeah, so it's a pretty, I guess, like famous part of his
I did not know that
story is how he died and his last words. So that's Bing for you. I'm sure we'll see him again.
Maybe.
I looked into Barry Fitzgerald, who plays Fitzgibbons. So he was nominated for 2 different movies. He did win this one. It's his only win. And there's actually a funny story about his Oscar. It's one of the only Oscar statues that's ever been replaced. Yeah, so it's very rare that they'll replace an Oscar statue. But I guess in the last few years of World War II, they started making the statues out of plaster and not metal or whatever they use now. So I guess he was golf. He was working on his golf swing at his house and he accidentally knocked the head off of his Oscar statue. It says he went on like this 5-year battle with the Academy to get a new statue. He's like, well, you gave me this chintzy one and it broke, so will you give me a nice one? So he does have a nice one now. But it was one of the only ones that's ever been replaced. Jean Heather plays Carol, and I was like, oh, this girl probably went pretty far. You know, I was like, she was a good young. She
was going places.
Just 18, you know.
Yeah. Runaway.
Yeah, Runaway, 18 years old. And she, in 1944 was when we saw her in this. She only made 2 more movies after that because at the end of 1945, she got in a really bad car accident and I guess it really impacted her face. She had a lot of facial injuries and head injuries. So she never really acted very much after that. But Risa Stevens, the singer lady, she was only ever in 9 movies. Her whole career was singing, opera singing. Even all the movies she was in, it was as an opera singer. This was like one of the only movies that she like had like lines in for real. I guess she publicly came out as disliking filmmaking and Hollywood in general, and she had a very large disdain for the whole industry. So yeah.
Queen.
Okay, Risa, just go sing your little heart out.
Okay, Risa.
Yeah, exactly. The last person I want to talk about, and this was a request from Brad. I don't know if I would have looked into these 2. So Stanley Clements plays Tony Scapone, who there wasn't really a lot about him. Tony and the actor Carl Schweitzer, who plays Herman, they both were not credited in the movie, so it's interesting. So I really don't even know how you came across this, Brad, but I'm glad you asked me to look into it. So I watched YouTube videos on this because I wanted to understand the story. So it's a very famous story. So Carl Schweitzer is the actor who plays the young Herman Langerhank, who was slapped back and forth a bunch of times. His most famous role, he was the original Alfalfa.
Okay, yes.
It wasn't called Little Rascals back then, but it was called something else. But he originated that role. And so he was like a big actor. Everyone knew him. Everyone loved him. He was like a well-beloved child actor. So when he was 31, he decided he wanted to take up an old hobby of dog training. And one of his friends, Moses, I'm going to call him Moses because his last name is similar to Carl's. So Carl, our actor friend, was like, oh, Moses, I'll train your dog. No problem. And Moses was like, cool, here's my dog. Very important to me. Take care of him. And while Carl was training this dog, the dog saw a bear and ran away. And literally, Carl lost the dog. So he's like, Moses, I'm really sorry. I lost your dog. And to which Moses said, absolutely not acceptable. You either have to find my dog or give me money to pay me what he's worth, which I guess at the time he said it was like $100 or something. So Carl, who I don't know, acted his whole life up until now, doesn't have $100. So he's a bartender at this point, and he puts out like a bucket to raise money for this dog. So he raises money. I guess he gets like $35, and Carl pitches in the rest of the money. So he's like, cool. So he gives this money to Moses, and it's kind of all at a good place. And then all of a sudden, Carl's like, actually, I don't think I should have to pay for that dog. Like, it's your dog. You lost the dog. I'm going to go get my money back. Yeah. And so he storms to Moses' house. He knocks on the door. He's like, Moses is home with his wife and 2 stepkids. And he's like, Moses, I want my money back. Like, I don't think I should have given you that money. Oh, because the dog does come back. Eventually, they get the dog back. Yeah. So then Carl's like, I think I should get that money back. So please give me my $100. And Moses is like, absolutely not. You lost my dog. It was emotional. There was trauma. So they go into the house. Everyone. There's a whole kerfuffle going on. Yeah. So I guess Carl locks himself in this room and is like, I'm not leaving your house until you give me this money back. And Moses says, get out of my house. And Moses shoots Carl. Dead. I guess one of the stepsons was around and saw the whole thing. And so he like was a witness, and apparently Moses claimed that when Carl came into the house, he said, let me in, I'm going to kill you. And so Moses was like, this was self-defense. And his stepson at the time was like, oh yeah, that everything he says checks out. It's all true. So at the time, nothing happened. But then years later, the stepson came out and was like, actually, none of that really happened. Like, I think it was very malicious and my stepdad, blah, blah, blah. But it was like so late at that time. I don't even know if Moses was still alive. But so all over a dog. And listen to this, okay? So Carl Schweitzer died being shot over a dog. On Carl Schweitzer's headstone is a picture of a dog.
No way.
A hunting dog. Carl Schweitzer, there's a big dog right in the middle of his gravestone. So, I mean, I know he probably loved dogs, but I just don't think after that cause of death, you put one on your gravestone. Too soon.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad you had me look into it. I probably would have, like, skimmed it and been like, that's, like, a weird story and not cared. But, yeah, it's probably pod-worthy, and so I did it for you and for the listeners.
Thank you.
And that's that on Going My Way.
All right. Well, let's find out which way we're going next.
Good one, Brad.
Thank you.
Here's a drum roll for you.
Ta-da. Our next film is My Fair Lady.
Yay! Something about a plane and the train feels lonely on the plane.
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
You'll know. Oh, you'll know.
Yeah, so apparently this is like a famous musical sort of deal. So, and we already referenced it because this is directed by George Cukor, who was also honored and nominated at this Academy Awards. So yeah, this will be episode 19 for us. Can't believe we're already approaching episode 20. And so it's pretty awesome. Well, so join us next time for My Fair Lady, and
happy March, everyone.
Carly's My Fair Lady. Love you.
I love you, my fair man. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.